Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. Today we are going to understand keys in a database. Keys means set of columns or set of attributes that uniquely identifies a record in a table. Okay, so which are the columns you can use so that you can uniquely identify any table. First let me tell you a scenario. See, if I input employee ID 1, first name is T, salary, hire date, department ID, email id as@gmail.com. Fine. Second entry 2 is you something again as@gmail.com. Do you think this is valid? Do you think? No, this is not valid. Both of them can never have same email id. Same way, if I write again 2 is something something some email id. Is it possible both of them have same employee id? That is also not possible. To solve this kind of error, we can use the keys. These are the keys. How to define them? While creating the table, create table. While using this statement, you can define the keys so that whenever someone makes any wrong entry in your database, it should not allow it to do it. Okay, and also it helps you to create relationship with different kinds of tables. So today we are going to understand these keys in depth. Okay, now the first one is super key. See, super key is a combination of column that uniquely identifies a row in a table. Okay, just focus in this part. Combination of columns uniquely identifies a row. Okay, now tell me first combination. Employee ID. Tell me, can employee ID uniquely identify a row in a table? Yes, because everyone's employee ID is unique. So if I tell you that employee ID 2, then you can uniquely identify a person, employee ID 3. Everyone is unique. Okay, there is no confusion. But if I tell you some name like the first name Alice, do you think that it is possible to uniquely identify? No, there can be many people having the same name. Okay, so if I tell you first name, is it possible? No, it cannot identify. So F name cannot be a super key, but employee ID can be a super key. Fine. Next, last name. Do you think it is possible? By using last name, you can uniquely identify a person. No, many people have same last name, so it is also not possible. Salary, never possible. Hire date, no. In the same date, many multiple people can be hired. Department ID, multiple people can be posted in the same department. Email id, email id is possible because email id cannot be duplicates, right? Everyone should have unique email id, so by email id also you can uniquely identify any row. Okay, so whenever this combination satisfies, you can call it a super key, right? Now I said combinations, so you have to try out the other combination also. So now if I tell you employee id and first name, so if I write employee id first name, do you think that this combination can uniquely identify a record in a table? Yes, because employee id can identify, then combination also can identify, so this is also a super key. Okay, next combination, employee id last name. Do you think this is possible? Yes, no confusion because employee ID can, then employee ID last name also can. I'm really sorry. Okay, next combination, employee ID salary. What do you think? Yes, it also can be a super key. Employee ID hire date. Yes, it also can be a super key. Employee ID department ID. This is also can be a super key. Email ID, employee ID and email ID. This is also possible, right? Now if I tell you combination, first name with last name, possible? No. First name with salary, possible? No. First name with hire date, no. In the same day you can hire two people having same first name. First name department id, no. Same first name employees can be in the same department. First name email id, is that possible? That is possible because email id can uniquely identify, so first name and email id also can uniquely identify, right? So using this combination, you can identify any particular employee, right? Because two people cannot have same email ID and first name, because two people cannot have same email ID, so they can never have the same first name and same email ID, right? So this is also possible. Now if I tell you last name with salary, possible? No. Last name with hire date, no. Same last name, same hiring date, possible. Same last name, same department ID, possible. Same last name, same email ID, possible? No. So it can uniquely identify. So last name email ID. Two people can never have same last name and same email ID because they cannot have same email ID. So this combination also can become a super key. Now tell me, salary, hire date, possible? Never. Salary, department ID, possible? No. Salary, email ID, possible? Yes, possible. So I can write salary, email ID is also possible. It also can be a super key. Now hire date, department ID, possible? No. Hire date, email ID, yes, possible. Hire date and email ID. Okay. Now tell me, department ID, email ID, yes, possible. So department ID, email ID. Okay. Now if I take combination of email ID, sorry, employee ID, email ID and first name. Let me write employee ID, email ID and first name. Do you think that it can be a super key? Yes, because employee ID can itself uniquely identify, email ID can identify. So any combination which can identify is a super key. So this is also a super key. If I say employee ID, last name, email ID, that is also possible to become a super key. Employee ID, salary, email ID, that is also possible. Employee ID, hire date, email ID, that is also possible. Employee ID, department ID, email ID, that is also possible. Okay, so you understand these are all possible super keys. Okay, now if I write the last one, this is the way you can check which are the combinations that can be super key. Now write email ID, employee ID, first name, last name, hire date, department ID, all of the columns together. Then also it can become a super key. Okay, so you understand the concept of super key, the combinations which can uniquely identify a row. So single email employee ID can be a super key, single email ID can be a super key, combination with employee ID and email ID can be a super key, and combination of all of them can also be a super key. Okay, now candidate key. Candidate key is minimal of super key. Minimal of super key. See, if I take the first one, employee ID, do you think that it can be a candidate key? Yes, because minimal of super key, only single column, and it can uniquely identify. Minimal of super key, which can uniquely identify. That is the logic of candidate key. So this can be a candidate key also. This is a super key, this can be a candidate key also. Email ID, minimal of super key, it can identify. So this is also a candidate key. Now if I take this combination, employee ID and first name. So employee ID itself can uniquely identify. So it doesn't need first name. So it is not the minimal. It is not fulfilling that minimal condition. So it is not a candidate key. Got my point? Employee ID last name, same employee ID can uniquely identify. So this is not a candidate key. Employee ID salary, employee ID can uniquely identify. This is not a candidate key. Same way, employee ID hire date, not a candidate key. Not. And the combination of all things, that is also not possible. Okay, and email ID employee ID combination, that is also not possible. So what are the possible candidates key? Only two. So we have got only email ID and employee ID. They are the minimal of super keys which can become candidate keys. Clear? First let me clear all these things, then I will tell you what is a primary key. Okay, just let me clear this. Okay, now fine. Now we have got our candidate keys. One is email ID, another one is employee ID. So you have candidates. Now you have to select who will be the winner. Okay, so you have to find which one is the best one who can uniquely identify the table. Now tell me, if I take email ID and if I take employee ID, which one is best suitable for primary ID? Tell me. Primary ID cannot have null, can never have duplicates. So employee ID can be null. No, every employee must have an employee ID. So this condition satisfies. Never have duplicates. Can employee ID have duplicates? Two people having same employee ID? No, that is also not possible. So this condition also satisfied. So this is ready for becoming a primary key. Now tell me about email ID. Can email ID have null value? It can have, because it may seem that in this world everyone should have an email ID, but it is possible that anybody can say I don't have an email ID. Okay, maybe that person doesn't have any personal email ID. So it can be nullable, right? But duplicates, no, they don't have duplicates. Okay, but one condition is actually failing here. So if you check among these two, you will think that employee ID is best suitable. Fine. Now I imagine that it is not nullable. Everyone has an employee ID. So sorry, everyone has an email ID. So in both cases it also satisfied, it also satisfying. So how to select? So now you have to give some preferences, like which one is more simple, which one is numerical numbers are easy, or which one is more suitable for foreign key. As you have no idea about foreign key, I am not going to explain it here, I'll connect it later. But see, you have to prefer over all these conditions. Okay, so then you can find which one is best suitable. Now tell me, which one is more simple or which one is numeric? Employee ID, the high chances of becoming numeric. Email ID, no, because normally people doesn't use numerics for email ID. So here employee ID gets again. Simple also employee ID, because they will always follow a particular format. Whatever the format is, they will follow a particular format. But email ID, anybody can create any types of email ID. So in simplicity also employee ID is one step ahead. Considering this scenario, we can decide that employee ID is the best suitable for candidate key. Clear? So all the combinations which can uniquely identify as a row is a super key. Only minimal of super key which is enough to identify any particular row, that is candidate key. And among the candidate keys, which one is the best for uniquely identifying a row, that is known as primary key. Clear? Now the next question. Alternate key. What is an alternate key? See, we have chosen that employee ID is going to be the primary key. So who is the second best? Email ID. So email ID is the alternate key. So we can say alternate key is that candidate key which is not the primary key. Among the candidates key which cannot become the primary key is the alternate key. Okay, so email ID is the alternate key here. That must be a candidate key but not a primary key. Clear? Next one is composite key. Composite key is that primary key which is made of two keys. You are lucky you have got employee ID here. But in some table you may face a problem that not any particular column is capable of uniquely identifies a key. So in that scenario you have to use composite key. Let me first give you an example. Let's say I have a table student taking enrollment in different courses. So there is student ID, they have taken enrollment in course ID and enrollment date. Now if I tell you student 1 have taken Java 12 February. Now student 2 taken SQL 12 February. Now student 1 again taken SQL 13th February. Now student 4 has taken Java in 14th February. Now if I question you that can student ID become a primary key? No, you can see that there are repetitions, so it cannot uniquely identify any row. It cannot become a primary key. Course ID can become a primary key. See, repetitions, so it also cannot become a primary key. Enrollment date can be, no, in a same date multiple enrollment can happen, so it can also not become a primary key. So in that scenario, you have to take help of two columns together, student ID and column ID. So if you take the combination, first student Java, fourth student Java, second student SQL, first student SQL. So if you take the combination, then it will become unique. Okay, right? So in that case, you have to take student ID and course ID combination. This combination will help you to create a primary key, right? So in these types of scenario, you call them composite key because both of them are required to create the primary key. Clear? Okay, so the next one is foreign key. Let me first copy this one and paste it here. And let me create one more table. Foreign key means you have to make a connection between two tables, more than one. So I have to write department ID and I can write department name or total number of employees, whatever. Just check. This is the employee table, this is the department table. Okay, now tell me which one is the primary key for the department table. Which one is the best suitable? Department ID is the best suitable, right? So this is the primary key of this table. And now if I ask you that make a join between employee table and department table, okay, for fetching some data. How can you make the join? By using a common column. So which is the common one? Department ID and department ID, right? So they have same column, department ID. So these types of keys are known as foreign key. So the definition is, foreign key means a field of one table which uniquely identifies the rows of another table. Clear? So here it is a single field, a single column, but that is the primary key of another table. Clear? So we can write department ID is the foreign key of employee table. Fine. I hope all the keys are very clear to you. Let me give you a small recap. Super key is a combination of columns that uniquely identifies a row in a table. So it can be multiple super keys. Candidate key, minimal of super key. Okay. Primary key is candidate key, which is the best one. Alternate, which is the second one, who remains. Composite key, when you are using more than one keys to make a primary key. One is not enough. So it's like you need more people. Composite key. Foreign keys, in your table it is just a field, but for other table this is the primary key and helps you to make a connection. That is known as foreign key. Okay, so I hope I am able to make you understand the differences between these keys. These are very important because while creating a table, all these things you have to keep in mind so that you can build a good database. Okay, so bye, happy learning.